Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Dr. Carol Hargret, and I'm here to help you to become a more effective and better and more confident public speaker. Today, we're going to begin by talking about the beginning of your speech. Now, most public speaking coaches and professors will tell you the way you begin your speech is how you capture your audience. So today we're going to talk about introductions. So how do you begin your speech? Well, we are going to concentrate on an informative speech in this particular video. And I'm going to provide you a simple informative speech outline. Of course, you'll write your outline and then you'll practice it. We'll talk about practicing another time. But think about how you want to introduce your speech to your audience. In order to do this, you will have to have a good introduction, which includes an attention getter. Some people call it an attention grabber. And then you will preview your topic. So you'll tell your audience precisely what you're talking about. So the subject of your speech is important to tell your audience in the beginning. In an informative speech, it's different in a persuasive. We'll talk about that at a later date. Then you preview your speech. You preview your speech by telling your audience, giving your audience a preview about what you're going to talk about in the body of your speech. So you might give them a little preview about what your first point is, and your second point, and your third point. You could have more points. You could have less points. This is just a rule of thumb. So if you're going to have 3 points in your speech, you should preview those 3 points. And then you will transition by using a transition statement. You might say, let's begin, or to begin, or let me start by saying. Those are transition statements. Then you get to the body of your speech, and we'll talk about the body at a later date. Here you will elaborate on your points. Once you've finished elaborating on your points, you'll transition to your conclusion. When you transition to your conclusion, you will review your main points, and then you'll throw it back to your attention getter, and then you'll wrap up. But we're going to talk about the body and the conclusion in another video. Today, we are just talking about the introduction. And not only are we just talking about the introduction today, but today we're only talking about the attention grabber. So, again, we're only talking about the attention grabber today. So let's begin. There are various types of attention grabbers, guys, and this is where you really get the attention of your audience, and it needs to be something powerful, something that starts it off by telling your audience something that grabs them in the first 30 seconds. So let's begin by talking about a question. When you ask your audience a question, you can ask them a direct question. They may, and then they may put their hands up to answer. In this case, if you're asking a direct question, you need to have a small enough audience that you can pick somebody in the audience to answer the question. If not, then it needs to be a rhetorical question. Now, I delve deeper into this in my course. So, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the public speaking course that I offer at the end of this video. But suffice to say, you might start off with a rhetorical or a direct question to your audience. And that's just one way of grabbing your audience's attention. The second way to grab your audience's attention is by using a quote. This one here says the beginning, and this is by Plato. The beginning is the most important part of work. And so if you were talking about work to your audience, if you were talking about how to begin something, you might use this quote. Quotes are a wonderful way to grab your audience's attention, especially when you use quotes by famous people, such as Plato. Another type of attention getter is a story. And this is where you begin opening your speech by beginning a very interesting story that pertains to what your speech is about. Now, you could tell just a funny story that has nothing to do with your speech, and be very careful with humor. Be very careful in a story if it's got humor in it, because when you tell a story, it needs to be something that grabs your audience's attention, that your audience can relate to. It can be a funny story, it can be a sad story, it can be a happy story. And we're going to talk about humor in a little while, because humor is something you need to be very careful of. But using a story at the beginning of your speech can be very powerful. And I'm going to delve more into how to use a story in my course. But suffice to say, using a story, especially one that your audience really can identify with, really helps to grab your audience's attention, and they are going to be wanting to hear more of your speech. Another attention grabber, another attention getter, is by using an occasion. Let's say you were asked to give a speech at a graduation. You might tell your audience about your graduation occasion. You might begin by telling your audience about that. And especially if it's something that, again, that your audience can relate to. That is going to be a recurring theme in this video. Anything that you use must be something that your audience can relate to. Using a statistic is another way of grabbing your audience's attention. There are many types of statistics, and you must be very careful to research your statistic and know that it is a true stat that applies to your specific audience. Using a generic or general statistic that doesn't apply to your audience can alienate your audience. So do your research. Make sure when you use a statistic that it is well researched, that it is current, and that it is relatable to this audience, the audience that you're speaking to. And then use humor. Now, as I said earlier, using humor, you need to be very careful, because using humor means that your audience finds it funny too. And so using humor, especially when your audience is an audience that you don't know well, needs to be carefully thought out. But using humor can definitely grab your audience's attention and make them want to pay attention to your speech. So we talked about the attention grabber. This is the very beginning of your speech. Before you even introduce your topic, before you even preview your speech, you should use something to grab your audience's attention. You can use a question, and you can use a quote, a story, an occasion, a statistic, and you can use humor. You can use any of these things to grab your audience's attention. And what you're doing there is at the very beginning of your speech, you're getting your audience to really pay attention to what you're talking about. So, I hope you found this information useful and interesting. If you did, I'm here to offer you a course, an online self-paced course called Learn How to Become an Effective Public Speaker. This is a proven online course that provides strategies to become more effective. It's taught by me, Carol Hargret, who has taught thousands of students. Now, go to cdheducationinc.org and you'll find more information about this course and other courses that have to do with soft skills to help you to become a more successful person in the workplace, in school, and in life. So this course provides you with a step-by-step guide to becoming and to write and to deliver an effective speech. Again, this course is $19.99, but if you catch it today, you'll get it for only $13.99. And it is a very effective course. So what will you learn? You'll be able to identify ways of becoming a more confident, effective public speaker. You will learn how to recognize various kinds of speeches, formative speeches, persuasive speeches, and there are others. You'll learn how to practice public speaking for effective communication. So even if you're not asked to give a speech, if you even want to learn how to become a more effective communicator, then the course can help. And then you can use the techniques provided in the course to relieve your public speaking anxiety. So thank you so much. And I will provide more of these mini videos to help you to become a more effective public speaker.